Well, we're doing a study.
Exactly.
We're doing a study of approximately 175,000 people, and it's the two cities, Racine and Kenosha, which have chosen completely different paths on how to protect the citizens from COVID-19. Gentlemen, start your engines. Well, here we are, back with you. The usual suspects, George Myers, Jim Spodek, and Dr. Jorgen, your host. And man, we opened up a can of worms last night talking about the police department and the resignation of Chief Howell, or retirement, etc., etc. So we decided, let's go fishing.
With that can of worms, huh?
Yeah. One thing we want to take care of before we get any further is we want to apologize to Corey Mason for inferring that he was being a power broker and forcing Art Howell out of office and various and sundry other distasteful activities involved in this issue. And it turns out that no, he's completely innocent in this case, but that don't mean you're totally innocent, Corey. You know, we're still watching you, but in this situation, we do apologize. Having said that, man, the police department is a mess. Well, we've been hearing from all different sides, all these issues that are going on down there. The one thing that we discovered, that we suspected, and that everybody else in the public, I'm sure, suspects, there are a couple of bad cops. Most of the cops we have in this town, the police officers we have in this town, are good guys doing a tough job, and they're doing it well. But there are some guys who probably do not belong on the force. It's difficult for anybody to identify them if you're working with them or you're employing them, because it infers that maybe there's a problem with the police department as a whole. So there's a big deal of reticence on the part of most people to say, oh, we got to get rid of this guy, or these guys should go away, blah, blah, blah. But I think it would be very, very important, since everybody knows that there are a couple of problems, that they ought to be dealt with. And the perfect time to deal with it, I think, and I'm talking to you, Chief Howell, this is a time to take a couple of guys with you out the door. I mean, I'm not encouraging you to leave in any way. I think by and large you've done a pretty decent job with a tough position. But this is an excellent opportunity for you to clean house a little bit. And
there seems to be some measure of hope on our part. I would say people of Racine should have some hope in this, that a large portion of the police department, maybe nearly all of them, want to do something about it too. They recognize that there's a problem, a couple problems running around in the police department, and that these people should be disposed of. And so,
well, when you say disposed of,
maybe the right word. Not secret knock on the door.
Be off the force,
but get off the force. Yeah, they should be relieved. And there seems to be interest in that in the police department. And if Chief Howell were to follow that advice you gave, I think that would be welcomed.
Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that these guys should, be in prison or something like that. No. But they're just not suited to police work, and they're creating some issues. And this is an opportunity for Racine to straighten some things out, and that would be real leadership.
Yeah. Here's a couple things that we got wrong on the last show 183. We brought that study in, and that study was actually done by the unions. There's two unions in the police department. That study was issued to the unions. That then was given to the police chief, the mayor, and spread around. And that was what that morale study was.
And they actually referred to it as a survey.
A survey, yeah.
A little different than a study.
And that was apparently around $6,000. So, but the union paid for that. One of the other things we missed a chief in the whole thing. There was a chief that I remember now.
Chief Spinner.
It was Ice Cream Gate, and that was where he was hired, I believe, through Jim Smith, Mayor Smith, and then once Becker became mayor, they were apparently out getting ice cream, and they saw Gary Becker, and they called the chief and said, "Hey, there's a weaving car out here.
We don't know who's driving it.
He could be drunk." And so anyway, that ended up with him leaving, and so we did miss a chief along the way. And Spentana, who we said worked for went to work for Mount Pleasant. Actually, went to work for Pleasant Prairie, and he wasn't really let go. He was just found another position, and that was in the investigation and Lopez and some of the stuff that was the internal stuff that goes on within the police department. So we want to kind of straighten a few
mostly
of that stuff
inconsequential stuff, but we did get it wrong. So
right, we want to get it right. Now, a lot of that stuff we can't get that information. We're always like on the fringe of information. We get a little here, a little there. So it's very difficult to get information in Racine, and that I think is one of the problems. Honest, open, and transparent will fix a lot of things in the city of Racine.
And that's a real key right there, Jim. Yeah, the more open government is, the lesser mistakes there are going to be about what's going on in government.
Right.
And that's a problem. But at the same time, we can't just ignore it because we don't know everything and got every single, down to the period and the decimal point. But we still have to proceed and try and do something about it. We know there's some problems in the police department. Apparently, the police do too, and they're interested in doing something about it. Which I think, if anything came out of that first survey, that was very encouraging. That the police want to do it because they're not all trying to just cover it up and pretend that it's not there. They're saying, yeah, we need to get this straightened out. Now the trick for us to do, and I'm talking about us as a people of the city, is to figure out how to get it done. Because it's very difficult for them in the political environment of a police department to actually pull it off. You don't just say, okay, boom, boom.
Right.
I mean, Chief Howell could because he's leaving the scene.
Yeah.
So but if he was staying there, it's just very, very difficult because you run into the whole political infrastructure and who's doing what and who's kissing whose butt. And that
what we've discovered is all of this stuff that's going on inside the department. It's like office politics. It's like junior high school girls almost. I mean, the petty arguments that are going on back and forth. Come on, guys, talk to each other. Straighten this crap out. For crying out loud.
Or at least give us some ideas how we can do it.
We depend on you guys. To bring a rational voice to a lot of scenes.
If we got a really clean police department where where everybody in there belonged there, everybody that was there belonged there, that would be truly great.
Yeah, and there would be more.
Let's
more respect from the community too. I firmly believe that.
Chief Howell leaves. Who replaces him? I mean, do you think it's going to be a search, or do you think it's going to be internal, somebody from inside?
Well,
I mean, one of the things you've got Corey Mason now, social justice, and you're going to have a political.
Well, it's up to the Police and Fire Commission, and there's another problem right there,
Exactly.
Because that is an agency that's got problems. It's there's a little bit of corruption going on there, just some political corruption inside of the Police and Fire Commission. And we know that the processes that have unfolded in the past, searching for a chief, have not been clean. And you guys need to clean up your act, too. So who are they going to look for? I don't know. Hopefully they're not going to look for a buddy. I mean, we've seen that kind of thing where they kind of play favorites a little bit. That's not the way to choose a chief.
No.
So a little shout across the bow to the Police and Fire Commission.
Well,
what do you think, George?
I would like to see it from inside. I'd like to see somebody that's familiar with what's going on in Racine. I think they would do the best job of adapting and bringing about any reform that needs to be done. But at the same time, it's got to be done at arm's length from politicians. In other words, you can't be doing things because the mayor likes it, or can't do a thing because somebody in the
the whole setup is political, though. You got a mayor that appoints the police chief, so now they've got to create this environment.
The thing is, if you bring somebody outside, though, I think they're more susceptible to that. At least somebody from the inside knows that there's, hopefully, let's put it this way, that they know that there's people that are interested in, like the three of us and other people that are in hot government, some aldermen that are really interested in seeing this thing straightened out, and they're not just going to play politics with the police department. And I think that would be easier to accomplish from the inside rather than bringing somebody from the outside. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the downside of somebody from the inside is that, we know that the forces got factions. And so if you get somebody from the inside, they're going to be coming from some faction or another. It's almost inevitable.
Yeah.
So the advantage of bringing somebody from the outside, and well,
Racine is a unique-
Spinner was an outsider.
Yeah.
So I mean, and
You can see how you
even
get
though
caught
he,
up into it. Yeah, an ice cream chase, like you're talking about.
well, he didn't get a lot of praise from anybody, but he did, for being a good chief. But he did get some praise for being objective in terms of handling personnel, and this is probably an important juncture right now. So
That's an interesting aspect of it.
So if we got somebody good from the outside, I think for now, I would personally be in favor of that. But it's got to be a clean process by which they do that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, well, we gotta
right.
find out. It's coming up.
Yep.
So
Okay.
anyway, we apologize, Corey, for the little slip up, but like I said,
Yeah, don't worry. We're not
we'll
gonna.
find plenty of things to
Yeah.
criticize.
Matter of fact, we got one right now.
Oh yeah, we're going to move on to masks now.
Yeah.
And
Mask madness.
And and the shutdown philosophy that we're embracing here in Racine. Why did you mention, Corey, when we were talking about masks?
Well, here's and I think we talked about this earlier.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we've got a city now. The city of Racine has got the shutdown or the opening or whatever you want to call it. Ordinances. We got a mask ordinance that goes into effect. Actually,
Testing is big too.
testing, and that's another thing that's happening today. Actually, today is the day that
The mask ordinance goes into effect. If
Today.
you're going to be in a public place, you have to wear a mask.
Well, and here's one of the things that, I want to talk a little bit about the mask, but I also want to talk about, so much emphasis is on this mask ordinance and the shutdown and the COVID-19 in the city of Racine. But when I look at that common council, it's always COVID-19. But, there's so much other things that happen within the city. And if we're going to be objective and look at things and be, and I hear the aldermen talking, ones that are in favor of this, is, we're protecting the citizens. But are you protecting the business? Are you protecting child abuse? Are you all the things that can happen within it, drug overdoses, suicides, reduction in medical care. I don't hear any of that. I hear statistics. I constantly hear the death, the amount of cases that are reported, but I hear nothing from the local common council or any of the administration about all the other things that are affected because of this.
And it's ridiculous to not understand that those also affect individuals. We're very aware of the thing. If someone gets the coronavirus, COVID-19, and they get sick from it or die from it, okay, there's cause effect. But we don't. But people dying from other things that because they have loss of business or they're cooped up inside and get into a serious problem and die from it or whatever, there's no connection there. And so that gets completely left out. And that's what you're talking about, Jim.
Exactly. Death of despair, I guess, is really what I come from.
Yeah. Well, we're doing a study.
Exactly.
We're doing a study of approximately 175,000 people. And it's the two cities, Racine and Kenosha, which have chosen completely different paths on how to protect the citizens from COVID-19. Kenosha, and Jim, you actually went out and
can we
did
look
some
at that
filming
video
over the
now?
Yeah,
weekend.
no, I'm going to just kind of preface this. This is a Saturday, the 25th of July. It was right around 12
Just a couple
noon.
days ago.
Yep. 12 noon, I went through Racine. I stopped in Racine, I went to Monument Square. I just took a video. It's a little rough because I was just driving, but it shows the city of Racine and businesses and the operation. And then I went to Kenosha and showed the business and the operation, kind of in the same path. Kind of drove through part of Kenosha, showed a little bit of where the people were in Kenosha, and then again in Racine. So I'll just hit it and then we'll come back and talk.
So I think you can see a pretty clear difference there.
There were 4 people at Monument Square anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there was some cars parked on the street, but I mean, in terms of like
Is the
people
sidewalk-
being out and
Yeah.
behaving normally,
No.
in Kenosha it's pretty wide open. Racine, there's hardly anybody on the streets,
Right.
and I'm sure it's due to the. Is that an ordinance that they passed, or? Yeah, the ordinance,
Yeah, it's, you know, and
which
it's just
goes into effect
lockdown.
today, but I mean, it's still.
But here's
already
my
impacting
concern
people.
is the businesses in Racine. I mean, they've struggled. You know, you struggle anyway. But you know, DRC, you got that down there. You got Raymac. You got all these organizations that are promoting business. Well, now you've shut the businesses, basically shut them down. I mean, you got to go into a mask to go to a restaurant, and I was in Kenosha. Yeah, people are wearing masks, but they're not everybody. Some do, some don't. But there are a lot of people out when you're down there at their farmers market, which I showed. That was I've seen it busier, but
Well, that didn't look like anything close that there would be an ordinance like we've got in Racine.
No.
Where Yandell and his fitness center was looking at going out of business.
right.
Got a court order said that told the city lay off, but then they took the
To the appellate
council.
court.
Yeah, they took it up to the appellate court, and the appellate court's put it back into effect, and it's like. It doesn't seem like Kenosha has those restrictions at all. I mean, not all those people out on the sidewalk in those tents. I mean, they certainly don't have the restriction that we got with everybody wearing a mask.
I mean, I literally drove down there, and I actually had to wait in traffic. I mean, I had to kind of stop and adjust things, because the traffic was a fair amount of traffic. Like I say, I've been down there when it's been busier, a year ago or whatever. But it's active. People are in restaurants.
And the tests we're doing, the
study,
Doc's talking about, the study, is we've got now a lot of people involved with this. This isn't just one person, exchanging information, one expert with another expert, and then the 2 experts decide we're going to tell everybody how they got to live their lives. Now we've got a city that's basically closed down, pretty heavy-handed. It's gone to court. Court overthrew it as unconstitutional, and another court said no, it's constitutional. And then people going out of business, nobody on the sidewalks. There's another community right close to it, relatively.
Yeah.
5 miles, same size as us, close to us, same state, and they're all out active, and they're doing things together. And let's just see if one of them has 5 times as many deaths as the other, or something like that. That's what we're told in Racine, that if we don't do this, you are endangering people's lives. And right down there in Kenosha, there they are doing it.
Well, so far, Racine has a population, Racine County, of close to 200,000. Kenosha County has close to 170,000. There's been 69 COVID-related deaths registered in Racine. There's been 49 in Kenosha. So in Racine, that's 1 death for every 2,845 cases, confirmed cases.
Okay.
In Kenosha, it's 1 death, 1 fatality for every 3,460 cases that have been
So they're
confirmed.
actually doing a little better than we are.
They have been doing a little bit better. Now we'll see over the next couple of weeks, because if they're making a mistake, it's going to be pretty evident in the near future, because it only takes a couple of weeks for cases to start showing up if you're doing the wrong thing.
Look, you see all those people in those tents? Man, they're just passing out the virus like crazy.
Yeah.
Some people are saying,
No mask.
"Oh, they're all going to die. Look at the way they're passing around that virus."
Yeah.
Well,
we don't want anybody to get sick. I mean, we don't want anybody to perish.
But I
as
think it's a
result of
good.
this, but-
I think it's a good way for at least us, in a real world scenario of how it's going to actually. In a couple of weeks, let's check the numbers.
Yeah,
Just check the numbers again.
there's an international one going on right now. Where Sweden had done no shutdown at all, no masks, no requirements, and the international community of experts is really after them, and their health department. It's their health department chief that's saying no, we don't see that there's going to be that much difference. And so far, Sweden's doing pretty darn good. They're doing worse than some countries and better than some countries. Certainly doing a lot better than some places like we know about, like New York and Los Angeles. But they But so it's going on. There's this open attitude that is under attack from the establishment. In other words, the medical establishment wants people masked.
Is it the medical
and-
establishment or is it the political establishment? You know,
Yeah.
I really sometimes think this is more political now than it is actually medical.
And it's hard to know exactly what is the right approach, but this
It's really
but
hard
what's
because
going
the data
on,
is so bad.
What's going on here is going to
Yeah,
say a lot.
we're right next to each other. Not
Yeah.
one of them's out in the mountain someplace.
Matter of
and
fact,
the other's in the
very
middle of a big
comparable
state.
population.
But we're
Yeah.
right next to each other in the same state, and you see the two totally different types of environments going on a Saturday afternoon.
Yep.
Well, my hope is, in spite of being a Racine resident, my hope is that Kenosha is doing it right. That would be
Yeah,
the best
absolutely.
possible
Right.
turnout.
And I agree with that because you can see people are out there, they're enjoying the day, and like I said, some had masks, some didn't have masks. It was up to them. In Racine now, it's the actual administration came in and said, nope, yep, your business is in trouble because, well, we have to protect people. Now, is it really gonna work? You certainly put these businesses at a disadvantage. There's
Yeah.
no question about that. And I got a feeling that you're going to see some businesses that are not going to make it. And I truly want to put that at the doorstep of City Hall.
Well, when you saw that those 4 people in the Monument Square, as of today, those people will be in violation of the law.
Yes.
And that's where you really get to a problem. Is this mask ordinance going to be judicially enforced? Because if somebody's just walking down the vacant street, like you showed, Jim, except for Monument Square, there was just nobody on the sidewalk. But by law, anybody walking on that sidewalk needs to be masked.
You should
Well-
you should have asked them people. They might have been from Kenosha, just coming up here to see what's
Spread the virus.
But so if someone sees someone up by themselves, and there's nobody on the street,
But here's
and they
the
don't
other
have a
thing.
mask, and they let it go, then we can say, okay, that's fine. But the thing is, if they're going to get pulled over and get fined because of it, now I have a question.
Yeah, well, we were talking about that before, where there's the purpose of a law and there's the law itself.
Right.
And if you enforce the laws to meet the purpose of them, that's fine. But if you're enforcing the law just because it's a law,
Yeah.
it's like you come up to a 4-way intersection. It's a 4-way stop. There's nobody around for miles. You roll through, and then you get stopped and get a ticket. The purpose of the law is
Right.
to prevent accidents.
If it's used commonsensically, then I say, okay, that's fine. But if we're going to get real radical about it, and right now that's my problem is people will be so scared that they even want to go downtown.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to a
I think
public
that's part of
space
it. I mean, when you say I have to wear a mask,
whiz,
I'm going to break the law if I don't wear a mask.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to wear a mask, or I'm just going to skip going downtown. I'll go somewhere else, and I know that happens.
But now Kenosha actually has got a better statistic than we do.
And they got a better statistic. That's right.
They've had one fatality per 3,460 people in Kenosha County. In Racine County, we've had one fatality per 2,845. So our statistics have been worse than theirs up to this point.
Numbers. We're just going to take those numbers the way they come in, and
we'll watch what happens down in Kenosha, because if suddenly there's a big surge and all of a sudden the hospitals are overfilled, we'll say, okay.
We'll be back here apologizing to court.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that no more.
I just don't think. I think we're way beyond that. It's been around too long to say there's only whatever their count is that we've, the actual number of cases.
Yeah.
I just think that's way too low.
Well,
let's talk about Mason.
Here we go, Corey. And it's one of those things that's it's an appearance thing, and it's written into a lot of statutes. There should not even be an appearance of corruption.
Yep.
And here we go. Corey's concerned about the city. So what are we doing? We're testing a lot of people, right?
Well, we're buying test or
Where are we
buying,
getting- where are
getting
we
free
getting these tests
from
from?
his brother.
Yeah.
For crying out loud. I mean, you're talking about this test kits. It's the only kind that we're going to get from his lab, and the whole country. This is the one we got to get, and his brother's going to help us out.
Well, he's a local guy. Support local business.
I just, I'm thinking if anything, don't you think? I mean, just on the face of it, I'm going to I'm the mayor. I'm going to get my brother to bring in these test kits and all this equipment, and I'm going to train the staff staff at Racine to
Yeah.
test.
And no,
It's
going to the council first to
No.
check it out. No bidding or
No.
anything like
No,
that.
no.
This is my brother. Don't worry about it. This is good
I
stuff.
mean, I just look at this stuff and I'm thinking, does anybody ask any questions? Like, you think maybe this doesn't look real good? I mean, now let's go back. His wife,
That's
remember,
why
was a
I'm
municipal
getting
judge.
deja vu all over
Yeah.
again when his wife was judge.
Yeah, so she had to get tossed out of there. But, so it's not beyond them to say, oh, yeah, this is illegal. We know it's not right, but yet we're going to continue to do it.
Yeah.
That was
Until this-
completely poo-pooed during
Oh.
that municipal
It
judge
was
election.
okay.
Oh,
It's the way it
that-
should be. But your municipal judge, the executive branch, and the legislative branch are
That was perfectly fine.
No problem.
Unless you talk to somebody from Milwaukee or is outside of it. There's what?
yeah. Eventually,
The
she
judge
got
and the
asked.
mayor are husband and wife?
Yeah.
Finally,
What?
there was a complaint filed, and she
So
got
it's
tossed
definitely
off.
appearance at the very
Oh, my
least.
God.
Yeah.
So now he has brothers, and I'm thinking, well, what other family members you got? Who else can you set up here?
Well, there's kids coming up. So anyway, there you go. There's your Monday Feast Fest. We hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed bringing it to you, and we're going to keep a close eye on this Racine Kenosha thing, and you should keep an eye on it too. We'll get a real good idea of what's the best way to approach this issue. So thanks for being here. We'll see you next week.